Did you guys see what Colin Cowherd said today on what's his show? The Herd?
The Herd on FS1.
FS1. So we've been friends for a while, and we always like to talk about of what everyone else has got to say in the media, and we like to dissect what those guys are talking about. And today, Colin Cowherd had some words about Aaron Rodgers, as he usually does. He's not too fond of him, we'll say. And he was comparing him to Russell Wilson, who I agree with him on a lot of points. And here's what he had to say.
This is Russell Wilson in Seattle against Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. And you know how I feel about Russell Wilson. He was underdrafted. He's undercovered. He's the most underrated quarterback of my lifetime. Steve Young's probably second. Then there's Aaron Rodgers, who I think is great. And the perception is Aaron's way up here and Russell's way down there. But having been a sports fan since I was 8 years old, so I'm going on over 4 decades of being a sports fan, here's something I've noticed. I would call it the Paul Bunyan quality. We love the golden arm in baseball. Greg Maddux is a much better pitcher than Nolan Ryan. Greg Maddux has 4 Cy Youngs. Nolan Ryan doesn't have any. Greg Maddux, 18 Gold Gloves. Nolan Ryan doesn't have any. Maddux has a better win percentage and a better ERA than Nolan Ryan. But Nolan Ryan threw 100 miles an hour and had some no-hitters. So who's the legend? It's not the better pitcher, Greg Maddux. It's Nolan Ryan. The golden arm. It's the same in football. We fall in love and look past the flaws of the golden arm. Joe Namath is the first we did this with. Joe Namath has 47 more interceptions than touchdown passes. He's still a legend. Dan Marino, with Don Shula, with Jimmy Johnson, was sub 500 in the playoffs, got to 1 Super Bowl and lost. John Elway had the golden arm. He was blown out in 3 Super Bowls and then played poorly in one of the Super Bowls he won. Many think he's the greatest ever. We overlook the flaws. There's Brett Favre, who led the NFL 3 times in interceptions and had far more big game gaffes than big game greatness. And then there's the current golden arm, Aaron Rodgers, who's had 1 great playoff run. And he's stupendous. But that arm makes us overlook some leadership issues, some arrogance issues, players calling him out issues, holds on to the ball too long issues. If you go look at Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers' numbers since Russell came into the league, Russell wins more, wins on the road a lot more, wins in the playoffs more, the passer rating even, passing touchdowns even, completion percentage mostly dead even. And oh yeah, I like Russell Wilson's leadership and scrambling ability. But the gap in perception is Rodgers up here and Russell Wilson way down here. It's the Greg Maddux, Nolan Ryan. It's the Dan Marino, Favre, Namath, Elway. By the way, spectacularly gifted players. But in my lifetime, if you've got, in your era, in your decade, if you've got the arm, first it was Namath had the arm, and then it was Marino and Elway, and then it's Favre, and now it's Rodgers. Now, for the next 10 years, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes, and we'll gloss over some of his flaws, because it is so pretty to watch. I think it's a huge game this weekend for Aaron Rodgers because I think he and Russell Wilson are largely the same quarterback since Russell entered the league. That's just not perception.
So what do you guys think about what he said today on his thing? What do you like about what he said and what do you don't like?
Should I start?
Go ahead.
I don't really have a lot to say. I agree with him when he says that Russell Wilson's the most underrated quarterback of our time. Recently, I think he's super underrated, and I think a lot of people started to look at him more and more. They started talking about him
especially
more in the media.
This year.
This year especially. He's finally starting to get that recognition, and he's been – I feel like he's been this good for years now, but no one really gave him the credit. But a lot of the things he pointed out were – I had a problem with a lot of it because he pointed out a lot of team accomplishments, like wins in the playoffs. When's the last time Rodgers had a great defense? Russell Wilson has been a part of a lot of great teams. Legion of Boom, a lot of great defenses. Pete Carroll, he's had good head coaches. Aaron Rodgers had Mike McCarthy. And McCarthy's a good coach. He's all right, but
I don't know if he's good.
He's all right.
I think he really fell off those last few years. And
Yeah, so it's unfair for him to bring in wins and playoff wins in an argument where you're comparing two quarterbacks because that's more of a team accomplishment.
The one thing I will say to that point is the 2011, the year the Giants lost to the Packers, that's the NFC Championship. Who the Packers beat in 2011 for the
This was
Super
the
Bowl?
Cardinals. Oh, in the Super Bowl, it was the Steelers.
Steelers, yeah.
So when they beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl in 2011, their defensive rankings for the year were 19th in points allowed and 32nd in yards allowed. So that was the year Aaron Rodgers won his Super Bowl. So obviously those are not good defensive statistics for a team that won the Super Bowl. So a lot of the times
they
with
snuck into the playoffs, 9-7.
9-7, snuck in, I think that Aaron Rodgers has underachieved in his career, a lot due to coaching and scheme, and especially the way the NFL has gone. But there's an argument that, well, Aaron Rodgers has always had to bail his team out. He's always had a bad defense. Well, the year they won the Super Bowl, the year they did win, they had statistically one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And you look at years like 2009, 2010, 2009 when they were 7th in points allowed and 2nd in yards
So
allowed.
he should win the Super Bowl every time he has a better defense than when he won.
No, but when we're talking about one of the best quarterbacks of all time, which is commonly given to Aaron Rodgers, he's the true GOAT in talent. He's not the most accomplished as Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
So Aaron Rodgers, I do think I will agree with Colin Cowherd on his point that golden arms are overrated. I get his point. A golden arm is not. Well, a golden arm is rare, right? You're not going to say Josh Allen has a golden arm.
Here's my problem.
Oh, God.
Here's my problem.
Just put your.
He's talking about Aaron Rodgers like he's Josh Allen, like he's just an arm. He just has an arm, like he's not the NFL history's leading passer rating, the best passer rating in NFL history, the best touchdown interception ratio in NFL history, the youngest to 30,000 yards or something.
Yeah.
The guy is the best thrower of the football we've ever seen, combined with being the best protector of the football.
Yeah.
So when you get those two things together, I think there's an argument for him being the best. And I just don't. I think he's just trying to confirm his narrative with all this talk about how he's a bad teammate. Well,
He's not a family man. He's not a
his
good
family
leader.
hates
His family
him.
hates him.
Okay, so what do you know? Do you know his family life? Do you know?
Yeah, Colin, you in on those Thanksgiving dinners, my guy?
Yeah. Do you go to the Thanksgiving dinners?
You there? You know, you're on the family group text.
Oh, jeez.
So everyone's speaking out about Aaron. Like Greg Jennings hasn't been too fond of him, but I think a lot of it's just bitterness. The Packers didn't pay him; they let him go. That's why he went to the Vikings, and he was never to be seen again. He was awful.
Yep. He's always on FS1, trying to put a jab in. But at the end of the day, I heard something a few weeks ago that Greg Jennings was on with Colin Cowherd, that they were at a Milwaukee Bucks NBA playoff game last year, and Aaron Rodgers was sitting front row, and Greg Jennings was sitting behind him. And Greg Jennings tried so hard to get Aaron Rodgers' attention, and because apparently Greg Jennings and Aaron Rodgers have unfinished business. All Greg Jennings wants to do is just get Aaron Rodgers in a room, and so they can get on the same page. And he went on FS1 and saying he tapped him on the shoulder, and Aaron Rodgers turned around and blew him off and said, "What are you doing here?"
Well,
And
why wouldn't he? The way you talk about
the way he talks about him publicly, and he's going down there in front of the court. So I do think Aaron Rodgers does get a lot of negativity nationally. It's not.
And you got to look at what are some of the receivers that have moved on from the Packers?
I was just about to say that. I was just about to
Jordy
say that.
Nelson
Jordy
was
Nelson.
Oh, wait.
He retired 2 years after he
Greg
led the
Jennings.
league in touchdowns.
I mean,
With
dude,
Aaron Rodgers.
Name me someone who's been amazing that he's had to throw to.
I'm just looking at Aaron Rodgers' career stats right here.
Devontae Adams is the best receiver he's ever had.
Yeah,
There's no doubt about that.
So
I
he's had
mean-
one all-star. He has one star receiver. That's really
He's
it.
always had a constant star receiver. But then you look at him, and I mean, he's got guys like Lazard and
Geronimo Allison.
who they're athletic players, but they're not polished. They're not great receivers.
So one of the points the overarching theme of his segment there was that Russell Wilson has surpassed Aaron Rodgers. And I think I do actually agree with that.
I agree on that point.
I think Wilson is the best quarterback in the league. He's done more with less this year. A bad offensive line that's been banged up.
And it has been the last few years. It's not like it's just
exactly. It's been bad forever. They lost Disley this year, who was huge for their offense. Lockett was hurt in the second half of the year. DK wasn't good in the first part of the year.
He missed a couple games.
DK did?
I think he missed. I know he missed one.
Okay. Also, what offensive coordinators he's had? He's had Darrell Bevell, who's like infamous for being a terrible play caller with bad schemes in his offense, and Brian Schottenheimer, who wants to run the ball a billion times and not put the ball in Russell Wilson's hand. So I think he's had a lot going against him, and he's overcome that. And I think recently Aaron Rodgers, his accuracy has not been the same this year, and it's just been frustrating to watch him hold the ball for so long and look for something else when there's a 5-yard completion right there. So sometimes I wish he did take a page from Brady.
You just take what's there. You don't always have to have.
You don't always have to have a 20-yard pass.
Sizzling sidearm, beautiful, just right to the receiver. It's better to take what you have sometimes and keep the defense guessing.
So in that sense, I do agree with Cowherd that Wilson has surpassed him. Rodgers is old. That could change. And then could change next year. It could change this playoffs. Maybe Rodgers has an incredible run. Another part, he said that Aaron Rodgers had one good run. It wasn't just one good run. It was one of the most incredible 4-game stretches in NFL history by a quarterback, and he's kind of just downplaying it. So this is why I'm irked about it. Colin Cowherd has no one to contest him on that show. No one really checks him, you know what I mean? He's got to be checked once in a while.
Yeah, we're here to check you, Colin.
Yeah, I hope you're watching this.
Golden arms are not overrated. You look at a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who I think is the golden arm in the NFL right now, but I see Colin Cowherd's point about the matchup. Yeah. You let a guy like Patrick Mahomes, who combined with a great head coach, makes a guy like DeMarcus Robinson, who is the other speed guy? Nicole Hardman, who's blazing fast. Sammy Watkins, who had a great week one.
Travis Kelce.
You can put any receiver in there.
Literally.
And they will produce because you have a guy who can put the ball anywhere. So golden arms, not overrated. And you look at a guy like Tom Brady, who Colin loves. And in the video, he makes a point of John Elway, and how he struggled in his one Super Bowl win. And you're not going to ever mention that once about Tom Brady and how his last 2 Super Bowls, or especially his last one, he's absolutely carried by his defense. 13 points. I don't think he even threw a touchdown.
Nope, and he had an interception first drive.
And he had an interception. So for him to point that out about John Elway, I don't know why he wants to say Montana. Because he also brought up Montana.
All he wants to look at is the win-loss column. He doesn't really want to contextualize.
That's my problem. The win-loss column is a team statistic.
The NFL is a team game. Obviously,
it's 53 guys.
It's 53 guys on a roster.
And yes, the quarterback
is the most valuable, most important position. But when a guy like Colin Cowherd on a national stage, and I get it because you're trying to get an audience who only looks at the quarterback. It's, oh my God, this weekend it's Aaron Rodgers versus Russell Wilson. Well, yes, those are the 2 competing positions, but that's not what's going to make or break the game. It's the offensive line, the defensive line, who can get a push, what receivers can get separation.
The coach is going to make the right calls.
What calls are going to be made? Will the players be put in the right scheme? It's not just, I think Colin the other day had a QB face where it's just, what quarterback is going to do this play? That's not what it's all about. It's much more to it than that. And that's one thing that Colin Cowherd does need to stop doing. It's more than just the quarterback. I love you, Colin, but stop.
Yeah, stop hating on Baker, dude. Come on.
Yeah, man. I mean, another thing is Aaron Rodgers hasn't had a coach like Patrick Mahomes has.
That's also true.
McCarthy, man. He said McCarthy.
Could you imagine? I mean, I hate to do what if, but if Aaron Rodgers had a guy somewhat like Andy Reid, his career would look a lot different, and maybe Colin Cowherd wouldn't be up there talking about his baby boy, Tom Brady. Maybe talking about the non-family man, Aaron Rodgers.